Let's also talk to Rabin, host of The Agenda, and Javier Manjarres, managing editor of the Shark Tank. Guys, Javi, let's start with you. You heard Cornel West jumping in there trying to say, look, President Obama doesn't hold a candle to Marion Barry. What do you think?
Well, I mean, President Obama was only a political activist or a community organizer, whereas Marion Barry was a true activist. There isn't much similarity between the two. The only thing is, like, Marion Barry was arrested for smoking crack. Obama wasn't arrested for smoking cocaine or snorting cocaine. There isn't much of a similarity. I don't think so. I don't think you're right. I think he's right. I don't think you can hold a candle up to what Marion Barry did in Washington, D.C.
All right, do you think President Obama would welcome this comparison?
I think he'd welcome anything that makes him look good.
That question was for Ari.
Oh, sorry.
I don't, and I think, look, I think the comparison to Marion Barry, as a DC resident for 15 years, the comparison to Marion Barry, it's like comparing apples to monkeys. It doesn't, it's comparing skyscrapers to sandcastles. They're two completely opposite things. You can't compare any of these things together. Barack Obama will go down as a great president. I have no doubt, Barack Obama. But Barack Obama was about taking what he did in Chicago and bringing it to Washington and bringing that change with him. Marion Barry was dedicated to D.C. for his life, and he was a man of great passion, great activism, and great personal foibles that will tell his legacy. I think as a Washingtonian, you look at Ward 8, his home, those people in Ward 8 loved Marion Barry, and it loved him for a number of reasons despite his personal foibles. And I think when you think about that, and when you think about who Marion Barry was, it just doesn't make any sense to compare him to the president. They're two completely different figures.
Yeah, well, it might not make a lot of sense, but CNN did it, and we felt like we wanted to bring it up because it was just such a striking comparison. Go ahead, Javi.
Yeah, I agree with Ari. So much so that I decided to grow my facial hair today because I do agree with him. But he's right on this issue. Marion Barry did great justice for the people of the eighth ward there in Washington, D.C.
Well, Marion Barry also had this ability to make whatever happened to him look like he was the victim, including this entire drug investigation. Even though that he was caught on surveillance video smoking crack with somebody he should not have been with, he still played that off as if he was the victim of the whole entire investigation.
All Democrats do that.
I'll let you weigh in, Ari, even though
look, all criminals do that, and the fact is, Marion Barry, as I said, is a person of great, who did great things for the city, who actually also did some bad things as mayor and wasn't a good fiscal manager for the city, but at the same, and it was a person of great personal foibles that dictated his career, and I think that was just one of many, actually.
Yeah, well, we also want to talk about, real quickly, guys, we have 1 minute before we take a break, and I'll give you guys each 10 seconds. President Obama leaving the door open perhaps to another Ferguson visit after the grand jury. Good idea or bad idea, Javi? 10 seconds.
Bad idea. He's just going to stoke the already tense situation there. Who knows what's going to happen today? I'm suspecting that the verdict from the grand jury will come out today. Hopefully everything will go well, but Obama will just fuel the fire there if he goes.
All right, what do you think? Is it a good idea or bad idea for President Obama to go to Ferguson after that grand jury?
I want to know what the activists on the ground think. Like, I think they should lead this discussion, not from the national level.
Agreed. All right, so then that would be a bad idea for the president to answer the question.
Well, I think it depends what the activists on the ground think, and I frankly can't speak for them.
Okay, fair enough. Ari, Javier, you guys stick around. We're going to have much more coming up, guys. We're going to get your take as well as the right's take, the left's take, see what they're saying about President Obama's, and specifically those folks running for the White House potentially in 2016. What are they saying about the president's executive order on immigration? Stick around with us. John Bachman sitting in for J.D. Hayward today. Javier Manjarres and Rabin will be back with us to talk about that with our political panel as that discussion continues right after this short commercial break here on Newsmax TV. Well, let's keep talking about the contenders. We're going to bring back in Rabin, host of The Agenda, and Javier Manjarres, managing editor of Shark Tank. And Javier, let's start with you and John Kasich. Just a couple of weeks ago, well, we talked about Jeb Bush a lot too, but let's go with what David Brooks was saying there. John Kasich, where do you see him on the scale right now in terms of potential front runners for the GOP nomination coming up in 2016?
I don't see him, of all the potential candidates, I see him maybe at the bottom, close to the bottom. He's popular in his own state, but he's going to have issues with his support for Common Core and immigration reform. I think he's going to have a big issue. Yeah, he's likable. I saw him this past week in Boca Raton at the RGA meeting, and he was a great guy, nice guy, but I don't think he's going to make it. There's, like Brooks mentioned, there's the Jeb Bush of the world and those crazies, whoever they may be, that he's going to have to contend with.
Well, Ari, as a Democrat, you know, John Kasich has united a purple state. Well, maybe not united, but he's won a lot of friends in a purple state, been able to do a lot of things legislatively as the governor of Ohio. How much do you fear a John Kasich presidency?
Look, I think you have to acknowledge that he takes Ohio off the map for Democrats, which creates a dangerous electoral situation. But I don't fear him because I just don't believe the Republicans will be smart enough to nominate him for the very reasons Javier laid out.
And talk a little bit more about that. Why don't you think that the Republicans will nominate him?
Well, I mean,
they've nominated a moderate guy the last 2 times around, and it's not that necessarily they don't want maybe that to happen, but that's what the electorate chooses.
Right. What I'm saying is the Republican electorate is anti-immigration reform, is anti-Obamacare, is anti-Common Core, and John Kasich has done things on all three that I think would to a general electorate looks moderate, and to a Republican electorate will look too liberal.
All right, well, Javier, how about Jeb Bush? Because a lot of those same things can be said about him.
Yeah, first of all, the Republican electorate is they're pro-legal immigration. They're for immigration reform. They just don't want to float amnesty like a lot of liberals and the president have done. As far as Jeb Bush, look, he's very popular, moderate, but again, his major issue with the base is going to be he is the godfather of Common Core. He is pro illegal immigration, amnesty for illegal immigrants. That's going to be very hard to get passed in South Carolina and in Florida, even though in Florida he's very popular. But look, I think some of these people that they believe, like Ted Cruz is crazy and Marco Rubio, these are part of the wacko bird squadron in the Senate. I think they're going to surprise people. I think they have more to offer than what they've been demonized as being as crazies or wackos by their own party, hence the Republican Party.
Well, let's leave the Republicans aside for a second because we only have about a minute left. I do want to talk about 2 Democrats. We've got Hillary, who most folks say is the front runner right now, but also to talk about Elizabeth Warren. Ari, Elizabeth Warren doesn't really seem like right now she wants to run for the White House. What do you think the odds of her running for president in 2016 are?
0.0.
0.0.
I think that Elizabeth Warren, first off, supports Hillary Clinton, would not want to be seen as challenging her, likes her place in the Senate, and frankly doesn't like the role of candidate, likes the role of senator. So why would she thrust herself into the biggest role as candidate?
Well, if not Warren, give me one name then with 30 seconds to go. Who?
Right now, well, Jim Webb's announced, whatever. Martin O'Malley, and then you have Bernie Sanders, all 3 lining up to compete against Hillary.
All right, so the benches, the contenders are starting to take shape. We'll see what happens. 2016, just about 2 years away. Right around the corner, guys. Never too soon to talk about it. Ari Rabin, Javier Manjarres, guys, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so some interesting candidates. We've talked a lot about the Republicans here, of course, but you heard Ari Rabin there mentioning some of the Democratic contenders we could see emerging here. Bernie Sanders, the independent senator of Virginia. Technically not a Democrat. We'll see what happens. I'm sorry, from Vermont. More ahead here on America's Forum right after this.